Hi, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or PF2. I love PF2. I love Mythic Rules, but not as they're written. So I'm going to go over my summary of the Mythic Rules, and I'm going to go over each Mythic Calling. So if you want to skip to the Mythic Calling, because you already know how the Mythic Rules work in general, you can go to this time here. Otherwise, I'm going to start with reading the brief description of each Mythic Rule and talking about it, my opinion, and how you can use it or change it. For those of you who want a quick reference, page 77 of War of Immortals has the little chart that I'm going to be referencing over and over again. Mythic Rules. Before we talk about all the breakdown of different Mythic Rules and how they interact, we really need to talk about Mythic Points first. So they replace Hero Points. And the main purpose of Mythic Points, well, no, not main. One of the purposes of Mythic Points is that you can use Rewrite Fate, the free action, to reroll a skill check or saving throw that you don't like the result of. The main benefit to this being that you use a Mythic Point and you reroll with Mythic Proficiency. That means that whatever proficiency you had added to it before, it goes up to Mythic, which is beyond Legendary. So that's plus 10 instead of whatever you had. Weirdly, this drops off in potency as you level. That doesn't make sense to me. That's just silly. Anyway, so Mythic Points you get 3 of at the beginning of every session. I run short sessions, so for me, this means that people will always have Mythic Points to spend. Whereas with Hero Points, you get 1 at the beginning of a session. They do roll over, you collect them. Mythic Points don't, but they reset to 3 every time, so whatever. And there are also other ways to get Mythic Points back, like you defeat a Mythic Monster, or defeat a Mythic Challenge, or because the GM says. So you can have more than 3 during a session by just getting them back and using them again. Mythic Points are used for a variety of purposes, including your Mythic Callings, including the Mythic Archetypes, called the Mythic Destinies. The Mythic Callings end with Mythic Destinies. So the Mythic Callings are what you have as a base character. It doesn't take anything. It's not a feat or anything like that. You just add it to your character sheet. It's basically the concept for your character and your character's goal, your mission in life. It comes with edicts and anathemas and a benefit you get if you want to spend a Mythic Point to reroll something or to gain a benefit within that Mythic Calling. I'll go over the Callings, like I said. But apart from the Mythic Calling and the Mythic Destinies, so Mythic Calling starts off, Mythic Destinies finish the character from 12th to 20th. In the middle is Mythic Feats. The Mythic Feats, they range from levels 2 to 10 and have a variety of abilities. Some of those I think shouldn't really be Mythic because they're useful and they're missing in the system. So I do want to go over the Mythic Feats, but I just don't have time today. So Mythic Calling and Mythic Rules Summary. So we've talked about Mythic Points. Mythic Points you use for almost everything that's Mythic. But because you can't reroll attacks, I don't like that. Like, I want to stay with Hero Points. Because in my games, if you use a Hero Point, you just succeed. You don't need to reroll. Because what's the point? It doesn't feel heroic if you roll again and you fail. And then you can't use another hero point because you already did. You can't use 2 fortune effects on the same roll. It just feels bad. Like you've earned it from either saving up your points or role playing or just being being at the session. And then you try and fail. That doesn't feel heroic at all. Now, I've gone over everything generally in the Mythic Rules summary. So my suggestions, I know that this is the beginning, like you don't necessarily need to trust what I say. I'm just, this is my opinion and how I'm going to run it. So the Mythic Calling has a huge impact on the character. And for the most part, I think in every case, we'll talk about them, I don't want people to have to spend Mythic Points. You just gain the benefit. There's no reason to spend Mythic Points. If you're supposed to start off with 3 and you can get them back multiple times during the session, then why do you track them? Like, it should just be a thing you do that's cool. And everybody gets 1 Mythic Calling So everyone has one thing that they're awesome at that other people can't replicate unless they try to take the same thing. It really lets the player character shine at what they've built their character for. So let's get to the Mythic Callings. I'm going to read Mythic Callings now, the intro to the Mythic Callings. So if you don't want to hear the intro, just skip to this time to go directly to the Mythic Callings. If you don't have a choice, like you can't push the buttons because you're driving, oh well, you just have to listen to me talk about the Mythic Callings intro. Mythic power rarely takes root in a being without being accompanied by a specific purpose. This purpose may be bestowed by a god or goddess, as it was when the goddess Iomede charged a group of heroes with closing the world wound, or it may be derived from some other internal or external impetus determined via the method by which you gained mythic power, such as when Nahoa, they're iconic for exemplars, experienced his calling immediately after the god's reign. You work with your GM to determine which calling matches your character based on the circumstances by which you attained it, your character's nature, and the destiny they're meant for. You can have only one mythic calling. Just because a group of characters all received their calling from the same source doesn't mean that they'll all have the same calling. I just realized I could use this in Stolen Fate. I'm going to present this to my players. The heroes chosen to... It's a live stream I'm running. I'll show you a link at the end. Where am I? Just because a group of characters all received their calling from the same source doesn't mean that they'll all have the same calling. The heroes chosen to close the world wound likely all had the same ultimate goal, but they would have found that it manifested in particular ways. A cleric called to help seal the world wound might have felt the caretaker's calling. A drive to heal injuries so powerful that their ultimate destiny was to heal Golarion itself. A noble paladin crusader, however, might have answered the guardian's calling, protecting his allies as they fought their way into the heart of the Outer Rifts and ultimately becoming one of the universe's greatest protectors. That's the guardian's calling. So each of the callings comes with edicts and anathema. I'm not going to read that section because I don't agree with it. Essentially, if you perform your edicts, you're supposed to get extra points. If you succumb to your anathema, so you do the anathema, you lose all your mythic points. I don't want to use mythic points, so it doesn't matter. Edicts and anathema should just be a guideline for your character's roleplay anyway, and to help you focus on your main goal that is your calling. In my opinion. So the first calling, Acrobat's calling. All of these are uncommon, calling, and mythic. You feel a need to dance amid dangerous heights and soar across empty divides with nothing but your skill and reflexes to protect you. When you balance, maneuver in flight, tumble through, or attempt a long jump, you can spend a mythic point to attempt a check at mythic proficiency. The first time each day that you critically succeed on an acrobatics check while balancing, maneuvering in flight, or tumbling through during combat, you gain a mythic point. Edicts. Leap without being sure you'll land unharmed. Test your reflexes by maneuvering through the spaces of significantly more powerful enemies. Anathema. Maneuver around an enemy when tumbling through their space is a viable option. Use safety measures to attempt acrobatic stunts. It might seem overpowered to allow someone to take acrobatics calling, so that at first level, they get plus 10 proficiency bonus to succeed at any tumble check when they're trying to move through enemy spaces. Depending on the class, that can make their enemy off guard, or maybe do other things that I'm not thinking of. Yes, that is super powerful, and it's beyond the normal balance of the system. But who cares? It makes them feel amazing at that one thing. It's not like they can break the game in every way. They're just fucking awesome, mythic, at acrobatics. Cool. All right, let's go on to Artisan's Calling. You feel an urge that echoes throughout your being to create, and one day you know you shall craft an achievement surpassing anything the world has ever seen. When you craft or repair an object, including vehicles and structures, you can spend a mythic point to attempt the check at mythic proficiency. The first time each day that you critically succeed on a check to repair an object, you regain a mythic point. Okay, so again, instead of whatever proficiency you normally had, you just bump that proficiency all the way up to mythic, so plus 10. Edicts. Be the first to test an item or weapon crafted with your own hands. Seek out or innovate formulas for ever more complex creations. Do you see how just the edict shapes the character? It decides what adventures you're interested in and what you're interested in the adventure. These callings should drive every decision this character makes. All right, so let's look at the anathema. Destroy the creations of other artisans. Refuse an earnest request to repair something that has been broken. Use a weapon or item crafted by someone else, except for the purpose of learning its function so you can understand how to create it yourself. I love that. That means that this character, if they find magic weapons, they're going to be like, I could make that, and they drop it. And the next time they have a chance, they make it. That's part of their life's purpose, their goal, their mission. Anyway, so obviously, since I don't want to use mythic points, I don't think there's any reason to give a mythic point if you critically succeed to repair an object, especially since if you spend a mythic point to get mythic proficiency to repair an object, you're going to critically succeed. So then you get the mythic point back. What the fuck is the point of the mythic points? At least in this calling. Bookkeeper's calling. Your passion and destiny are both tied to the preservation of knowledge and a deep-seated love of instruments designed to preserve and propagate knowledge, such as books and scrolls. When you attempt a check to recall knowledge or earn income using a lore skill you're trained in. So this doesn't work for rangers using nature. This is specifically for lores. You can spend a mythic point to attempt the check at mythic proficiency. The first time each day that you critically succeed on a check to recall knowledge while researching in a library or similar facility, you gain a mythic point. So essentially, you're just always amazing at succeeding at making lore skill recall knowledge checks or earning income. And that's another thing. If earning income is a downtime activity, what mythic points do you have for that? You don't even need to or can use mythic points for that. So do you just assume you always can because you get 3 every day? Or you never can? No, I mean, you have to be able to. See, there are some things in the mythic system that seems confusing about mythic points. Like, it seems to function better without mythic points. Yes, it's like bumping up the power level. Well, it is bumping up the power level. It's like making the characters epic, as in like 3.5's epic level handbook, like above 20th level, at super low levels. They feel like super powered characters. What's wrong with that? That's fucking fun. All right, so edicts for the librarian bookkeeper. Edicts. Educate others, record new knowledge so that others can share in your discoveries. Anathema. Destroy books, scrolls, or other instruments used to record information. Refuse an opportunity to share your knowledge with an earnest knowledge seeker. I love that. This character is going to be driven to share everything they know with anyone interested. They're going to be gabby and bookwormy, and that's going to be their main interest in any adventure. Gathering more knowledge and sharing it with people. Yeah. Demagogue's calling. Words flow freely from a font within your soul. When you attempt a check to coerce or make an impression, you can spend a mythic point to attempt the check at mythic proficiency. The first time each day that you critically succeed on a check to coerce a creature who isn't your ally, create a diversion using your words, or make an impression on an indifferent or unfriendly audience, you gain a mythic point. Now this one is super powerful, because coercing, making an impression, and creating a diversion are a lot of purposes in a game. So, whereas I don't really care otherwise, I would probably limit Demagogue's Calling to being able to use this ability once per minute or once per 10 minutes. So you can use it like once in a fight or like constantly in a town. That makes perfect sense to me. Edicts. Tell stories to audiences you have never heard them. Wow. Edicts. Tell stories to audiences who have never heard them before. Use words rather than weapons to resolve conflicts. Any party that's with this person is probably going to be really annoyed if they keep disabling every fight. So the GM needs to be aware of that. That's why the limit of once per minute. Anathema. Interrupt someone telling a story. Wow, that's anathema. That's great. So much flavor. Resort to violent action without trying to defuse the situation with your words. I love Demagogue's Calling. This is the blessed silver-tongued one. The person that can sway the hearts of a room full of enemies. Next, Guardian's Calling. Your instinctive urge is always to protect others, pushing back aggressors and doing everything in your power to prevent them from harming your allies and charges. When you attempt to disarm, reposition, or shove an opponent, you may spend a mythic point to make the check at mythic proficiency. You can attempt these maneuvers against a creature of any size when performing them at mythic proficiency. Ooh. The first time each day that you critically succeed on a check to disarm, reposition, or shove an opponent, you regain a mythic point. Again, super powerful. I'd probably have it be once per combat, but that once per combat is going to feel amazing. Edicts. Place yourself in harm's way to protect your allies or innocent creatures under threat. Anathema. Retreat from a battle while your allies or innocent bystanders are in danger without taking every reasonable effort to rescue them first. This really determines how someone thinks, not just in combat, but ahead of time, strategizing, and really in their party composition, too. They may exclude people from the party who are going to be such a liability that they can't be protected for their own safety. If you want to go the extra mile of just letting your character feel letting your PC feel super powerful, then I wouldn't make this once per minute or the Demagogue's Calling once per minute. Because no matter what, the GM can still say this person just can't be moved in this because it's part of their core beliefs or they are dying of hunger, it's part of their survival instincts. Either way, it can just be something that isn't possible to overcome. Like the Guardian's Calling. When you attempt to disarm, reposition, or shove an opponent, that's fucking powerful, and it would be really fun to be able to do that as a martial character. But you can still, as a GM, create enemies that cannot be shoved, that cannot be moved. Yeah, you're supposed to break the game like that. It's more fun and interesting. Just make sure you don't do it much. Not often. Handler's Calling. You have an instinctive urge to care for wild creatures. When you attempt a check to command an animal, you can spend a mythic point to attempt the check at mythic proficiency. The first time each day that you critically succeed on a check to make an impression on a wild animal or command an animal who isn't your pet or companion, you regain a mythic point. I see absolutely no reason to limit this. It's just commanding an animal. Fine. You do it at will at mythic proficiency because it's amazing because you're amazing with animals. You're the beast tamer. Edicts. Care for dangerous animals or beasts in need. Respect the habitats of wild creatures. I love this because this also shapes the way someone approaches an adventure. You're walking through a forest. Okay, we need to make sure to leave no trace that we were ever here. I'm not talking about tracks. I mean, don't leave any garbage behind, and make sure that any brush that you pushed aside goes back to where it was, because you don't know if there's like a little caterpillar living there that you don't want to disturb. Anathema. Initiate combat against an animal or beast encountered in its natural environment. Kill an animal or beast when sparing it is a viable option. This would also come up if you walk into a bear's cave or a wolf's den. It's their home, they're protecting it, you would not fight them. You would leave. This is a perfect calling for so many characters that I've seen play in the past. Alright, next calling, Hunter's Calling. You're the hunter, and somewhere a legendary predator awaits as your ultimate challenge. When you attempt a check to seek or track, you can spend a mythic point to attempt the check at mythic proficiency. The first time each day that you critically succeed on a check to seek or track a hostile or unfriendly creature, you regain a mythic point. I again don't see reason to limit this. That might seem too powerful to some people. Of course, up to you. Don't. But if someone wants to have, like, eagle eyes, and that's what they're focusing their character on. Remember, you only get one calling. Being able to have a seek or track at plus 10, plus whatever your other bonuses are, feels awesome for that player character. Nope, I see it. Nope, you hid that in your back pocket. I saw it when you were moving it. Edicts. Be first in a group to scout an unknown and potentially dangerous area. Seek out creatures that are causing imbalances in the natural world and correct the imbalance. Anathema. Leave an animal or beast you've wounded free to cause future harm. Refuse a request to hunt a dangerous animal or beast. It's almost the opposite of Handler's Calling, but it's not. It's still managing nature, just in a different way. Handler's Calling is respecting animals for being themselves. Hunter's Calling is getting rid of animals who are a problem to other people. Like, it's not natural for wolves to walk into a town and predate on humans. Sage's Calling is just basically an upgrade to Bookkeeper's Calling. I don't like it. I'll read it. You're already an archive of knowledge, but you're driven to learn more with an unquenchable passion that might never be sated. Sounds similar. When you attempt to recall knowledge, you can spend a mythic point to attempt the check at mythic proficiency. Any recall knowledge, not lores. The first time each day that you critically succeed on a recall knowledge check against an enemy creature, you regain a mythic point. Granted, this does not count toward earned income, but that is of the lowest priority to almost all, okay, to most players. Edicts. Preserve your knowledge for future generations. Seek out lost knowledge in dangerous or forgotten places. Anathema. Destroy books or other repositories of knowledge. Lie to hide knowledge from the world. I would say that no matter whether you take Sage's Calling or Bookkeeper's Calling, the Edicts and Anathema are different. They're unique, so fine. Keep the Edicts and Anathema. But both of them work for all recall knowledge checks because they're so fucking similar. If you don't take Sage's Calling and you instead take Bookkeeper's Calling, you just sort of feel like you're missing out on something. Anyway, Sage's Calling is really useful for, well, Monster Hunter Rangers. And the other one is not. Thespian's Calling. All the world is a stage, and you're no mere player, but a playwright whose story may change the course of history. When you use performance to perform or earn income, you can spend a mythic point to attempt to check at mythic proficiency. The first time each day that you critically succeed on a check to perform, you regain a mythic point. There seems to be nothing wrong with this. You just keep performing at mythic proficiency without spending a point. Should be fine. Yes, you seem like an amazing, bullshittily awesome performer. So what? Let him do it. Edicts. Master new performances. Seek opportunities to perform in front of new audiences. Support other performers. Anathema. Deny a call for an encore performance. Refuse a request to perform in front of an audience. Sabotage another performer. Again, all of these drive the character to care about this one thing above all else. So it will shape the adventure, it will shape your role-playing, it will shape your stories. Having someone who always succeeds at performance makes that person feel amazing. They get a title in the story, in the party, whatever. They feel like they have ownership of performance in your group. That is a really fun, encouraging, powerful feeling. Last calling, Thief's Calling. Whether guildmaster or cutpurse, you covet something or many things that don't belong to you, and you're driven to ever greater heights of larceny. When you attempt to pick a lock or steal an item, you can spend a mythic point to attempt the check at a mythic proficiency. The first time each day that you critically succeed on a check to pick a lock or steal from a hostile creature, you regain a mythic point. I love that. Something that somebody in my old group used to do is always steal the belts off of enemy soldiers. It's not a held weapon. It's not a shield. It's not even armor. It's just their belt. So they're slowed while they're pulling their pants up. Edicts. Seek opportunities to overcome Edicts. Seek opportunities to overcome ever more dangerous and complex locks and mechanical defenses. Steal things from dangerous creatures or places. Anathema. Leave unattended treasure where you found it. Pass up opportunities for profit that challenge your skills. I love... This really brings back memories of really fun, overpowered games in 3rd edition D&D. And I know that I mention that a lot in my videos, 3rd edition. It's because that's the edition that I played most. Like, for years. I loved that edition. I had all the books. Okay, almost all the books. Can you imagine 2 people in the party? One of them has Thief's Calling and one of them has Guardian's Calling. And the Guardian is all about disarming, repositioning, and shoving, so all about combat. And the Thief is all about pick a lock or stealing an item. One of them is far more noble in feel than the other. I would love to see this party. In fact, I know that my party members are probably watching this. What do you think, guys? I think this would be fun. We can create new mythic callings, too, if you want, because, there's some overlap, and it's not ideal. I think the Bookkeeper needs a boost, an edge, to feel different from the Sage's Calling. Not sure what it would be yet. I'm open to suggestions from anybody, not just my party. I love that anathema of the Thief. Leave unattended treasure where you found it. Well, it wasn't unattended, but now it is. Well, you mean you stole it? Well, no, I mean it becomes ours. Okay. So that's what I think about Mythic Rules in general and Mythic Callings. I am going to go over the Mythic feats. Some of them I don't think have to be Mythic. And I will go over the Mythic Destinies as well, because, oh my god, they're awesome. And yes, other people have already. I don't care. I love them. I'm going to go over them. Yeah, some of them are awesome. All right. Thank you for being here. If you're a patron, I appreciate you being here every day to take care of the channel. And the kitties, I hear them licking in the corner. It's a cat thing. If you want to see more of War of Immortals, ding! If you want to see any of the latest giveaways, there's a link here to just see the giveaways and who won, because you can, so why not? We do giveaways often. In fact, when we hit 3,000 subscribers, we're doing a I Love You 3,000 giveaway and doing an 80mm liquid core D20. This thing is so fucking pretty. I just love staring at it. Anyway, it's heavy, though. You cannot roll this on a regular table. You will dent it or break it if it's glass. It wasn't this one, but I've seen a glass table break from that. And a tile on a ceramic one. Anyway, we send you a little pad to roll on if you have one of these, if you buy one or if you win it, because we do selling too. Anyway, if you want to see the War of Immortals playlist, here, War of Immortals playlist here, and if you want to see any of the recent giveaway videos here. Thanks, bye.